Good morning, everybody. Um, it's already 11 o'clock, so that means I have failed in my mission to wake up early, and I'll try to do that in the future. But, um, yeah, I don't know what it is. I got to bed at like 11:30, I want to say. So waking up at 7:30 should have been fine, because that's 8 hours. But then I wake up and I just feel like a brick, and then um, I think if I had like a louder alarm clock and I had it across the room, so I had to get up, I'd probably wake up. I might get one because I don't have anything in my room that tells time right now, so that might be good just to have a normal clock in general. But yeah, I don't know. I gotta figure it out. I guess I've always been a night person, so it's kind of hard to adjust that. Um, but I'd really like to be able to wake up early on a normal basis. I think I had it going for like a week um, earlier this year, and then it just all went downhill again because I'll have some nights where I'll just stay up until like 4, and then it's like there's no going back from that. It takes several days to recalibrate. Um, I was looking back at the most recent video on Areum because in that video I took inventory of what I needed to do in the next steps, and I did that back in like maybe I want to say like February. But then I didn't do anything after that, and I haven't done anything since. So it's kind of in a weird spot because like I almost need to retake inventory, but nothing's changed, so that video is still valid. So I was just watching it to figure out where things are at. Um, but yeah, it. I have a bunch of plans for that. The problem for me is the more I think about it, the more I think it needs to be optimized in terms of speed because it runs pretty slow. And I know that my computer isn't the best, but it's also not the worst. So if people with worse computers try and play my game, then it's going to be awful for them because it'll be processor speed dependent. Which I tried to make it overkill on how many frames it has. Or underkill? Not sure. I tried to make it so that it would cap out the frames. So if it's running on a faster computer, it wouldn't necessarily run faster. And then it's a consistent gameplay across all computers. But even then, if the computer can't handle that amount of frames per second, then that's going to be a problem. So I don't know. I've definitely heard of people of having trouble with it. I know my laptop, if it's not plugged into the wall, it'll run like booty hole processor speed because it has this like stupid battery saver thing that I can't turn off, and I don't get it. Um, there's a bunch of things on my computer, and I know it's just because it's an older. It's not super old, but I've had it for like maybe 4 years. So in terms of computers, that's fairly old. Um, but it's got this thing going on where if I unplug it, it's not charged because it's like picking its battles on when it's gonna charge the actual laptop. And I know there's probably a setting somewhere, but I've looked a couple times, and I remember seeing a setting that was like that, but I can't remember if I'm just like dreaming that at this point because I can't find it again. So I don't know. I need to do a more thorough search um, online for Lenovo stuff, but yeah, it's really annoying because I can't like transport my laptop somewhere with it on because if I take the cord off, it hasn't charged anything. It's just like a zero sum charging while it's plugged in. Or I think what it does is it charges up to full and then stops charging until it hits some critical value. And then like you'll turn the computer on sometimes and it'll say like warning 10% battery, but it's plugged in. Like, how is that possible? Been plugged in for like weeks. So, I don't know. Yeah. It's kind of. I don't have the biggest motivation to do this every day. Just because I don't feel like I have a bunch of stuff to say. And I don't think that I'll be just like talking to a camera every single time I do this. I'll be sometimes that I'm like working on the game or doing other stuff. I want to have a reason to get up in the morning. Well, if I let it go stale, then it's not going to be motivation anymore. So I don't really want to do that. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of stuff to talk about. My umbrella became more aggressive the other day. So one of the legs that folds out to open up into the umbrella, right at the top there's a hinge, and that hinge broke on one of the legs. So it's just been free floating. It's still attached in every other hinge, and it still has all the springs and stuff. So the problem is that with that free floating, the point of pressure then becomes the actual umbrella material instead of the tip of the umbrella, which is metal. And so it's been slowly poking this hole in the top of the umbrella. And then it finally made a big enough hole the other day that when I opened it, that arm didn't extend, and instead it would shoot that arm up the top of the umbrella and stick it out the front like a little spear. So like all the rest of the umbrella opens up, and the I see someone in the chat says hello, how's it going, clowns? Yeah, the rest of the umbrella opens up, but then that one arm just shoots out and like pokes out like a spear. And so I was joking that it upgraded its attack stat because it's now like a weapon and a shield. But yeah, it's pretty weird. There's now a hole in the top of the umbrella, which I haven't gotten dripped on yet, so I think it's kind of like a low probability of that happening. But I definitely need to get a new one because I've had that one for a few years, and I'm surprised that a $10 umbrella doesn't has even lasted that long. Yikes indeed, clowns. I didn't really have any doubts about this, but I got an email the other day saying that my degree was accepted, so that's good. That means they're actually sending it in the mail. So I've got my bachelor's up on the wall, and then I assume I'm debating whether I'm going to move that down and put the master's where it is, or I'm going to put the master's at the top of it. But either way, I'm going to have my 2 degrees. You're just done with breakfast, crowns. Well, I'm still working on mine. Well, yeah. No, I'm excited. It's kind of weird for me because I just rolled straight through to my master's, finished that, and now I'm rolling into my PhD. So, like, I understand that master's is a big thing and to have my master's degree, but at the same time, like, just in the moment, it doesn't really feel like a massive change or anything. Um, yeah, I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around it, which it's definitely like talking to other people. They're always like, "Oh yeah, Masters is amazing," but then like just experiencing it doesn't really feel that different, I guess. Oh yeah, the Masters is definitely going above on the wall comms. Um, it's just whether or not I'm gonna move the Bachelors down so that it just looks better on the wall. But I guess you'd have to see the wall itself for you to be able to understand that. Um, ooh, went out of focus. I'm also thinking about getting. Um, I had this idea to get uh, little tattoos on my arm, and I wanted to get the. Uh, I wanted to get the equation from my master's thesis, which I think that's super nerdy, but also at the same time, like, I want to do something to commemorate it, and it seems like it's right up my style alley to have a bunch of math terms on my arm. So I was going to get it pretty small, and then I wanted to get another equation for my bachelor's, and then eventually, when I finish my PhD dissertation, I would get a third one, but um, I don't know. I'm playing around with the idea. I'm trying to make sure I'm completely certain on what I want before I go through with that. Yeah, clowns. I agree. Definitely having the piece of paper in my hands will feel a lot more solid. To be honest, I didn't even expect to have anybody watching these things, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. In the lab, I'm basically just reading papers and textbooks. So that's it's kind of an interesting thing because I always hated that when I was in like grade school and stuff. But um, now I'm really trying to get myself in the research mindset. So I'm trying to get focused on it because when it comes around to the class times, um, I'm gonna be I have to be able to do research and learn things outside the class other than just focusing on the class. So I want it to become natural for me. Um, my problem is that unless I'm reading out loud, I read really slow. And if anyone's talking in the room, I like it's a no go on that. So I have to kind of time myself getting into the lab so that I have time to read something before everybody comes in and starts discussing stuff. So um, it's been interesting, and I'm getting better at it, but we'll see how it goes. Clowns, you said you tried to get your nursing degree. By tried, do you mean that you've stopped? Um, Trying to figure out because it might be a typo, but I don't know. Yeah, so I have a couple textbooks on controls and stuff that I'm reading that they controls is the main area that I'm going into. I'm trying to get into the area of for people who don't know what controls is. Um, I'm trying to take a if you have a system and you want a value in the system, let's say like you have a robot arm and you're trying to move it from here to here. Controls is the algorithms that you give the electrical system in order to move from here to here and not like go past it or those kind of things. Because you can't just say like there has to be a system that kind of translates um, in between you saying I want to go from this XY position to this XY position and the robot actually doing that. It has to know how much electricity it needs and how much power it takes to get, and to also be able to speed itself up in the middle and slow down at the end so that it doesn't break anything. Um, so it's a little more complicated behind the scenes than you realize. And there's a lot of fancy stuff you can do in the controls department. Um, Clowns, you said you stopped because you were ill. I have a couple friends who had to take some years off because of illness and injury and stuff, and it's pretty rough. I hope that everything's working out with you. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff like the way drones will fly around and do crazy maneuvers and stuff. That's all controls based because, I mean, obviously you can get people to move the controls themselves, and that gives the inputs and outputs. But if you want it to be automated, then you have to have a control system, and there's fancy ways that you can make it so that you only have to control a few of the drones, and then all the other drones just follow along. So there's stuff like that that I'm just trying to get brushed up on before I get too deep into the actual thesis itself. Or dissertation. But yeah, I'm also trying to do some extra writing on the topic that I did for my master's. So I'm getting geared up to, or I guess formatting and stuff to get that paper written. That's probably going to be the focus of this semester, to be honest. But all the while, I'll be getting the groundwork done on my PhD work. And another problem with getting up in the morning, because I've been going to the gym pretty regularly, my body is sore. And so I'll wake up and I just don't want to move anything. And then before I can get myself out of bed, I convince myself to not get out of bed and go back to sleep for another hour. So I think the act of getting myself out of bed is a really significant thing. If I can force myself out of bed to go turn the alarm clock off or something, then that might be enough to get it going. Got a bunch of fantasy drafts coming up for fantasy football. That's one of the never realized I would get so into fantasy football back in high school and stuff, and then I tried it for a couple years and got really into it, and now I'm super into it and have my own leagues and stuff. But I've talked about it in videos and on the stream before, I think, but I have a backwards fantasy league. So the whole goal of the football league is to pick players in the NFL that do the worst possible while still getting a statistic of like touching the ball once. So you're trying to just get people who get like 0 points but still touch to the ball, or like negative points and those kind of stuff. So actually all the points are flipped. So anything like positive in terms of the game is positive points. Sorry if that was loud. So if you have a running back and they get the ball and they run forward, that's negative points. If you give a running back the ball and they run backwards and then fumble it, then that's positive points. And so you can actually get positive points in the game, but most people end with like a crazy amount of negative points because it's all scaled to just be stupid. But then I just started another one with two of my friends where there's us three and then there's an auto pick team. So the auto pick team isn't going to be changing itself out or anything like that, but the what's it called? So yeah, the auto pick team isn't going to be changing itself or anything, but then so it should be easier to beat. but we're all gonna pick a punishment that the other two have to do if we win the league, and if the auto pick team wins the league, then we all have to do our own punishments. So that's the kicker. Yeah. Can't really think of too much else to talk about, but I'm gonna try to be a little better about waking up in the morning. And if I do wake up, then I'm gonna stream early in the morning. So um, eventually, this might turn into something. For now, it's just me talking to a camera. So um, yeah, I think I'm gonna call it there. But thanks to the one viewer who showed up. I wasn't expecting that. And I'll see you guys next time. All right, bye.